Let's talk about how dark things are actually getting. So let's step into this one. From CNBC. Congressional panel investigating January 6th insurrection demands records from Facebook, Twitter, and other tech firms. So here we go. You may have heard that the January 6th committee submitted a letter to all these different government agencies demanding information on basically everybody in the Trump government, as well as a large number of activists who were just, Scott Pressler is the most pressing example. He's a guy who registers Republicans to vote and he cleans up garbage. And they said they wanted every communication from the government to him going back to April 1st of 2020 into January 20th of 2021. This guy has nothing to do with any of it. And my understanding, he wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. But this is their overreach, and now it's coming to the big tech firms, which is what we expected. When we had Jack Posobiec here, who was on this list, the general idea we were talking about is they'll eventually take it from the government to social media companies. Now, all of these big tech firms who we know are biased are going to start going after Trump supporters and activists. I'm willing to bet if you're like some mid-level Trump supporter, your communications, your DMs will probably get leaked. Because they're going to demand it. And why would Facebook, Twitter, or Google say no? They're going to be like, well, it's very important. We help out. Here you go.
Well, look at how the government tax forms for all these rich people got leaked all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
Biden is talking about going after rich people with his tax efforts. Oh, and also talking about throwing tons of money at the IRS. Magically, ProPublica gets a dump of the tax records for a lot of famous rich people and then starts writing about it. Now, remember we weren't supposed to talk about the deep state. Deep state doesn't exist until a guy from the New York Times writes a book and says the deep state exists, and it's
a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing because it's on our side,
Let's let me read a little bit from here. We got this from CNBC. They say the House Select Committee investigating January 6th said Friday it's demanding a trove of records from 15 social media companies, including Facebook, Twitter, Google, and a slew of pro-Trump platforms. The requests for records stretching back to the spring of 2020 are related to the spread of misinformation, efforts to overturn the 2020 election or prevent the certification of the results, domestic violent extremism, and foreign influence in the 2020 election, the committee said in a press release. They're also looking into policy changes that the social media companies adopted or failed to adopt regarding the spread of violent extremism, misinformation, and foreign malign influence that includes decisions on banning material from platforms and contacts with law enforcement and other government entities, the press release said. The committee's latest requests further underscore the role of social media on the Capitol attack, blah, 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 blah. They blamed Parler, but it was actually Facebook where people were getting together and scheduling and planning for January 6th. So the coordination and collusion, I think, is obvious. And now, what's the chances that these companies just turn over all this data and everyone who is anti-establishment all of a sudden has the worst possible things they've ever said taken out of context, plastered all over the internet, every story possible. And then what happens next after that is the financial institutions start saying, geez, these stories, yep, got to ban them.
Well, financial institutions already are doing some of that. They did it to
I was going
to say one of the Republican Senate candidates in Delaware. Oh, okay, we're not going to allow you. We're going to shut down your bank account. We're going to, you got PayPal doing the same thing. All these companies, but yes, that's an enormous, insane Stasi-like, overreach of government into basically the lives of absolutely everybody.
Yeah, this
is, and you're right. It's not just the. They could leak. Oh, you're having an affair on your wife. Somebody's having. You send a dirty joke. Anything they want, they can use against you with that. And unfortunately, we all, and I certainly fall in this category. We've all spent years posting absolutely everything on social media. And beyond that, they also know who your friends are.
Yeah.
So even if you've not done anything wrong, they can go after your family members. Oh, hey, you're 50 years old, you got kids who are in their 20s. Oh, you've never even gone speeding. But your kids, they've done something wrong. So, hey, we're going after the kids now. That's just the most broad insanity thing I've ever heard government do.
It's very clear the path that we're on, where we're going. And at a certain point, I'm kind of just like, I don't know, what do we do? Do we just, kick back, put your feet up and wait for the tsunami to crash over?
In public, but you got to be super subtle about how you change the system quietly.
Like how?
Like by building technology that makes it
building culture.
Yeah, like Fediverse projects, things that can't be censored or that aren't censored by nature, things that are decentralized, stuff like that. The cryptography and cryptocurrency.
That's why they hate crypto so much. They freak out about it because that really does put a
well, they can monitor. They can't monitor where your money goes.
No, they can.
But I mean that's
depending on which one you use. If you use like Monero or Zcash, but Bitcoin is fully public,
right?
And they can easily track all of it.
But I mean, this follows choke point. When choke point went after the I guess the gun companies and other stuff, and went after drugs. You can't carry more than $10,000 of cash on you because you might be making a drug deal. Then when they found that people were carrying 9, they cut it back to 8. Because they don't want you to, it's like, we don't want you carrying cash because you might actually buy something we don't approve of. And so now if we catch you with $8,001 in your car, we can take it all.
Yep. Civil asset forfeiture. They just steal your money and you don't get it back.
Amazing.
Yeah. I wonder how that would play out if you're like running like a burger shop and you have like your daily cash from the tills. You're going to the bank with it, and they're like, "That's a bank."
They stop you outside the bank, and they're like, "You're gonna go buy drugs with it." You're like, "I'm about to deposit it." They're like, "No."
You're like you're holding the deposit thing open. Dude, we are living in the nightmare dystopia, and it's only getting worse every day. And the only and I guess when you're a frog in a pot and the pot starts slowly coming to a boil, people just don't know and don't care. But people need to stop and just think about a few things. What is it shocking to you if I told you that you have a serial number registered with the government for your person?
Not for me.
Nothing. I mean, my level of shock is kind of gone up a lot. Like what it takes to shock. I think if I went home and I found police cars surrounding my home, I'd probably be surprised by that. I don't even think that reaches shock.
Isn't it a crazy idea when you realize that like every single person in the U.S. is serialized with a specific number that identifies you?
Every citizen, yeah.
It's like something I remember. I'd grow up and I'd see like movies where people would get numbers and stuff like that, and how wrong and bad it was. And then it's like, but we've been doing this since what is it, like 1916 or something? Social Security numbers.
Yeah. Not 1960, since FDR era.
So when was that?
30s.
30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to do anything in this country, almost anything, you need a social security number. You need to be registered with the government. Now you've got New York City saying you need a photo ID, state issued, in order to get access to any of these buildings.
It's weird. Like,
you go to the restaurant. Hey, I want to get carry out. Sorry, you can't come in.
No, carry out's okay.
No, but if you can't come in the building,
no, you can't
unless you show your ID.
No. The law exempts carry out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. Apparently, if you have COVID, but you're only going to be in for carry out, you can't cough on people or something. Oh. Also, I learned something really interesting is that when you first walk in, you're wearing the mask because COVID sits high. But when you sit down, you're underneath it. I'm kidding, by the way. I have no idea why that policy is. It's like you walk into a restaurant. I was talking to a restaurant on the phone, and I was like, they were like, "Oh, you've got to wear masks regardless of vaccination status." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "But then when I sit down, I can take it off." And they're like, "Yes." And I was like, "Does that make sense?" And the guy was like, "I don't know. They just make me do it." And I'm like, "Yo, that's ridiculous, dude." Like, whatever, man. People just follow along. They march along with all this stuff.
Well, I mean, you look at Australia right now. It's not just march along, but I mean, they're all locked in their homes again. I mean, I've lost track. I saw somebody post a chart of how many lockdowns Australia's had since COVID.
They're going on the 8th, I think.
Really? Holy
7th or 8th, yeah.
Oh, wow. YouTube's mad at us right now.
Yeah, they're giving us trouble.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm checking the feed and I'm seeing it keeps cutting out.
Yeah.
We've got full internet. Our internet's
what spicy
perfect.
Things are we talking about?
Might be us. Yep. I think Ben and Andreas were going to work on the internet today. So there was some issues.
No, I'm looking at the connection. We're solid.
Interesting.
We have a solid high-speed connection right now.
Maybe I'll start singing Avenue Q for maybe they'd be happy if we talk about that. Talk about porn.
I just want to. There is something that needs to be said though. It needs to be said, Ian. Okay, people need to hear this.
Oh, here we go.
Mark Zuckerberg is such a good guy.
I love him.
He's so fun, And Jack Dorsey,
good haircut. I like his hair.
What a good guy. Well, actually,
when he grows his beer out,
Jack Dorsey did tweet out Rothbard, so I guess I'll give him some credit.
Dude, Dorsey's red pill.
Oh wait,
that dude's legit. He's just co-opted by the corporation right now.
Dorsey's also he moved in from I've got the crazy 400-mile beard into I'm now dating supermodels. So he is going through a little bit of a phase,
midlife crisis. Yeah.
He got all the career stuff out of the way.
He's a figurehead for Twitter. he left the company. He's doing Square. Square's doing really well, and then they brought him back because they needed someone to take responsibility, I guess. So I don't even know why he does it. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. The he's a billionaire. Like, what is he worried about?
I get that he's maybe feels like just by still having a tether with it, he can still kind of keep it from going totally insane. But when a company buys you out, man, that's their company now. It's not his company anymore. So
yeah, it's like a skin suit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but look. Actions speak louder than words. I suppose, did you see when Jack Dorsey tweeted out Rothbard, The Anatomy of the State? Like, all the libertarians and ANCAPs were like, they're like high-fiving each other, and they're like, yeah. Actually, they're probably freaking out. Like, our friend Luke was like, what's happening?
What's going on?
Jack Dorsey's, no. But
I think some of this is, a lot of what we see now on social media from famous people is them just screwing with us. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think because they know that it changes the narrative and everybody talks about them again.
That's what he does on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's what Tim does. It just screws with people.
Oh, I love
with social media. Yeah. It's like the Andy Kaufman.
But to be fair, I'm just following
following orders.
Michael Malice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Malice is a pro.
I tweeted, Joe Biden is the greatest president of this or any generation. And then I waited a few minutes and then I replied, why aren't you retweeting this? And it got like 1,000 retweets or something. It got like 2,000 replies. But the funny thing is, like, I'll tell you exactly why I did a tweet like that. Because you have establishment left activists, and how do they respond to that tweet? I said something very, very complimentary to Joe Biden, but the implication is it's sarcasm. So the interesting thing is that establishment Democrat type activists completely ignore tweets like that, and that I do that. It kind of proves a point. There was when I was tweeting about vaccine mandates being wrong, I get all of these establishment Democrat activists being like, you're crazy, you're wrong, there will be medical exemptions, everyone's got to pitch in. And then when I called all of these restaurants and I called New York City and they said no medical exemptions, period, and I tweeted that out, all the same activists were nowhere in sight. No longer replying, no longer arguing. They could have replied with like, "Wow, I didn't see that coming." In fact, I sent messages to Cameron Kasky, the Parkland activist, because we had interacted on the idea of medical exemptions. We were talking. I tweeted about Google mandating vaccines and said, "I wonder how many people are going to quit their jobs or lose their jobs." And he said, he responded, "There's about to be a lot of openings for people who aren't stupid." And then I was like, "Some people have medical issues, bro." And he's like, "Well, there will be exemptions." So when this thing with New York happened, I in good faith, I was like, hey, just wanted you to see this because I know we had interacted on it. No response. Because these people aren't acting in good faith. If I come out and say something like, Joe Biden should do X, and then someone argues with me, and then Joe Biden goes and does X, I'll be like, well, I got to eat my words. Joe Biden just did it. But you don't see that from most tribalists.
Well, and you look at what's happening imminently to the military now. We've got hundreds of thousands of people in the military who are not vaccinated. And we're going around celebrating our heroes in Afghanistan. And, the left and the right are both like, oh, my God, we love the military. But then we're going to turn around in a week or two and a whole bunch of those people are going to, be called up on charges, court-martialed, or get some sort of, pushed out of the military at a time when our military probably can't afford it. And all these people who said they were great, just like they said the frontline healthcare workers, oh my God, we love the nurses and the doctors going out risking their lives. Oh wait, they're not getting the vaccine. That's it for them. And they literally throw them out of a moving car. And so it's the inconsistency. The person who doesn't get the vaccine, who chose for whatever reason doesn't get the vaccine, if they're out there risking their life for their country or saving lives and as a healthcare worker, they're still the same darn person that was doing that.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.